Hey, welcome back everybody. Happy Friday morning. Hopefully we had a wonderful week and hopefully a safe one because it has been a very hectic one here in the severe weather department over the past week or so, and unfortunately that's going to continue and likely even amplify itself here going into next week as another big time storm system kind of crosses into the country, starting out west, eventually working through the Great Plains. And I really think just about everyone could see severe weather at some point next week, from Texas through North Dakota all the way over towards potentially the Carolinas and Mid-Atlantic, also under the gun for some severe weather. So again, the past week or two it has been very busy, but I think next week we're going to continue it and even expand the areas that are impacted, and again even get some of those storms east of the Mississippi here, which we haven't quite seen so much this week, but again I think that changes here going into the future. Now I know I haven't had a video out for a while, as I did mention in the last one, ran into kind of exam season here, and in fact I still have 3 to go next Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, sorry. So I'll definitely have to kind of still navigate those obstacles, but again, very active weather, so I wanted to get a video out for you today, so you kind of at least have a bit of an update. And again, I'll try my best to get a video out now through next Wednesday, but I will let you know ahead of time. Unfortunately, I'll be back home spending some time with family next Wednesday through Sunday, so again, going to have another kind of dry spell there without any videos. Another thing I did want to mention here at the beginning, something I'm planning for the channel here, is kind of some more long-range forecasting. I know as we kind of get closer towards the end of May and the start of June, and especially into July, the weather kind of really dies down a little bit as the jet stream pulls north and it's still a little too early for hurricane season. So during that time period, I am planning on doing some long-range forecasts, some hurricane season forecasts, maybe some more just climatologically related videos, as I think that stuff's pretty cool. And again, that's probably going to be a little bit more interesting to watch than me just telling you every day that's going to be hot and muggy with some pop-up thunderstorms. But again, before we do get there, we do have some very active weather here in the near term and really even through the long term as well. So obviously going to get through that first up. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Like the video if you like it, and yeah, but whatever else you want to do. If you want to comment, definitely do that. Share it with somebody if you think they might find it interesting. And all those sorts of things. But with that said, I think that's long enough of an intro. Let's go ahead and jump on into the weather here. So, taking a look at current watches, warnings, and advisories throughout the country right now, things are relatively quiet for a lot of folks here, especially kind of east of the Mississippi, where, again, not too much on the map here. But again, this is going to change very quickly, and in fact, we are already seeing some very active weather, including a lot of flash flooding here down in the Houston metro area. Just north of there, as we've had just rounds and rounds of storms really move right over the same areas. So again, some very impressive flooding video out of that part of the country. And that will continue as, again, more storms are on the horizon for a lot of the same folks here. Now, current radar imagery, we are seeing active weather east of the Mississippi today, just not really too severe. Now, some of these storms definitely going to produce a lot of lightning and a lot of heavy rainfall, but really not too much in the way of any sort of tornado threat or really even hail threat. But we could see some gusty winds as some of these storms kind of collapse down on themselves. Could bring a couple microbursts or downbursts. But overall, again, not too much in the severe weather threat here, just more of a lightning and maybe some flooding as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a moment. But again, scattered showers up from Michigan all the way down into the Cumberland Plateau, from Knoxville up through Pikeville and into the Cincinnati area, Columbus, Cleveland, Detroit. Again, a lot of these places seeing some showers right now, and that will continue this afternoon as this slowly kind of begins to cross the Appalachia chain, and some of that rain will make it east of the Appalachia chain. And again, we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. But the bigger story on radar currently is just this big blob of rain, again, down into southern Louisiana and portions of the Houston area, and even up towards Little Rock, seeing a lot of rain this morning as well. Again, that causing some flash flooding concerns, as we've already seen a lot of rain, and all of this extra rain, and likely more on the way through the next week, again, could definitely cause some flooding potential. All right, satellite imagery here. What are we looking at? Well, again, kind of the big story, obviously, as I mentioned, is all that convection that we just talked about on radar. Again, continuing to bring that rain, could bring some flooding as well, as I mentioned. Other than that, though, again, just some scattered showers through the eastern half of the country. And also, we do have some low pressure kind of spinning up here into Canada. That is definitely helping to kind of pull more pieces of energy kind of through the Great Plains here, and will likely lead to another round of strong storms this afternoon and evening. Much like we've seen the past couple of days. Again, it's like an everyday event here, but that's not too out of the normal for this time of year. Again, April and May are the big severe weather months in the United States, and this is happening right over Tornado Alley, as you would expect, which I'll mention isn't strange by any means, but just the past couple years, it's felt like Dixie Alley or Alabama, Mississippi, kind of that general area have really been the real winners in the tornado department, or I guess losers depending on how you look at it. But this year it's been kind of the opposite. It's been more what you would expect climatologically. A lot of tornadoes out through the Great Plains, and the Dixie Alley area has maintained itself as relatively quiet, which is obviously good news for areas that have just been hit so hard by severe weather the past couple of years. It's definitely good to get a little bit of a break here. But unfortunately for you folks out in the plains, starting to feel a little bit more like stereotypical tornado alley. All right, so I'm going to talk about radar over the next 48 hours or so through multiple parts of the country. We'll start in the northeast, then we'll look at the southeast, then we'll take a look at the severe weather threat out into the plains, and then we'll talk about that more prolonged severe weather threat going into next week, kind of towards the end of the video. And then I'll let you go and start enjoying your weekend. So here we go. Northeast, here we go. Just really scattered showers is really kind of the big point, I guess, to bring home here throughout really the next 48 hours as a whole. Today, I don't think it's going to be a washout by any means, especially for New England. It should be much quieter, but you folks kind of here into western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, parts of Ohio, Kentucky, could absolutely see some scattered showers here throughout the afternoon hours, and those could definitely, bring isolated downpours and some lightning as well. Now it's going through the overnight tonight and into tomorrow, especially that this kind of just continues. Some scattered showers again overnight tonight. Anywhere in the northeast is definitely possible, but especially kind of the further west you are, the higher likelihood that you're going to see some of that rain. Now, as we get into tomorrow afternoon, more scattered showers, downpours, lightning, going to continue. Again, a lot of the same places that saw it today. Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia itself. Those areas are going to be the real winners here in the rainfall department. And I'll let you know, the severe weather threat is definitely low with this round of storms, but isolated flash flooding is definitely something I'm concerned about. Wind shear tomorrow is very low, so these storms are not going to be moving very quickly. There's going to be a lot of precipitable water in the atmosphere, so these storms are going to pop up. They're going to rain a ton. They're going to hit the ground. Those outflow boundaries are going to spread out, and then it's just going to continue and kind of just loop itself for a while here. And again, some of these storms could pop up over the same areas and lead to a couple of inches of rain in a pretty short amount of time. So that'll be a big story Saturday afternoon, overnight Saturday, once again Sunday afternoon as well here. And you'll notice this is getting into Sunday morning, more widespread rain beginning to overtake for a lot of folks from, again, really just much of the northeast. So not a washout by any means, especially for areas of New England. I think the weekend will actually be relatively nice, especially Saturday. But the further west you go, the more likely you are to see those scattered showers, downpours, including some lightning and small flash flooding potential with any of these showers and storms. All right, the southeast, again, more of the same. Here we go, Friday afternoon, just kind of this popcorn showing up on your map, if you will, with scattered downpours, scattered areas of lightning. A couple areas could see some flash flooding, again, anywhere in that circled area on your map this afternoon, as some of these storms really begin to pop up and continue to kind of just drop heavy rain and some lightning. Now that continues into the overnight hours, dying down a little bit after the sun goes down, but by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, again, more scattered showers, more scattered storms throughout the mid-Atlantic, throughout the southeast, specifically the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, and eastern Tennessee, I think seeing most of this rainfall. And again, it's going to be, I don't want to say isolated, it's going to be more scattered and widespread in nature, but it won't be a washout all day. It's going to rain some, probably die down, then maybe rain again, then die down, just kind of looping that cycle. But again, as I mentioned, some of these storms are going to be moving very slowly and have a lot of rain capacity in them, or just precipitable water. So flooding potential is very real here. I would not let down your guard. In fact, I think also tomorrow afternoon we could see maybe an enhanced area of flooding here along kind of the central areas of the Carolinas, as we have some of this very weak flow out of the west kind of clashing with maybe that sea breeze. Again, flooding potential going to be very real here, and just continuing the same cycle of scattered to widespread downpours through much of this evening and into our Saturday, and then Sunday morning here, more showers in the frame here, but I think by the time we get to Sunday afternoon, a little bit nicer, still scattered showers possible, but overall nicer compared to maybe some of the other times, so definitely watching out for that. All right, severe weather potential. Well, today we've got two areas to watch. Really just one big area, but two more enhanced areas within that. One kind of over sections of western Kansas and another right into the heart of Texas, where we even have an enhanced risk of severe weather. So it's definitely going to be something we need to watch today, including the threat of a couple isolated tornadoes here. Taking a look at our tornado threat map, again, anywhere from southern Nebraska all the way down to the Mexico border could see an isolated tornado, but the real kind of higher end threat for tornadoes, again, in that brown shaded area over portions of the Texas Panhandle. So definitely going to be a threat we need to watch today, as well as tomorrow. Again, another area of severe weather, slightly less than today maybe, but marginal risk all the way from Chicago all the way back down towards portions of New Mexico, with a slight risk or a level 2 out of 5 threat there over portions of Texas and New Mexico. So again, definitely watching out for that tomorrow. And once again, tornado threat going to be possible really the same places that see it today over a big section of western Texas there, specifically the southern Panhandle, really most likely to see any of that severe weather. So the good news is these are relatively unpopulated areas, but still do not let your guard down. In fact, yesterday, again, same threat was over relatively unpopulated areas, and next thing you know, we had houses getting wiped away by these big stovepipe tornadoes. In fact, really looks like it's right out of the movie is what we've seen over the past couple of weeks. And again, just that same threat continuing here, so watching out for that. All right, let's talk about it a little bit here. Going into this afternoon into the Midwest, well, here we go. This is about 4 or 5 o'clock Central Time, and you'll notice storms now beginning to fire here back towards Nebraska. Definitely need to watch as this area of severe weather begins to crank up a little bit, but this very quickly turns into a line of storms. Now, around dusk tonight, again, we are going to have more of an isolated cell threat. Again, that does include the threat of tornadoes, but large hail and damaging winds will definitely also be possible. Before eventually this all just kind of congeals into a line of storms overnight tonight, getting well past the midnight hour, strong storms from Iowa all the way back down towards Kansas. A lot of lightning with these, strong gusty winds, and maybe some hail as well as this works on through. And just kind of continues into the overnight hours, and by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, again, that line of storms still very potent here, and now moving into that marginal risk that we have set up for tomorrow. So again, less strong tomorrow, but still nonetheless could see some more storms fire along that same cold front tomorrow afternoon from Illinois back down towards sections of Missouri, and that continues before kind of dying out a little bit here going into our Sunday morning. So kind of a 2-day severe weather threat with that cold front as it works on through. All right, Southern Great Plains, as I mentioned, we obviously do still have that leftover flooding threat that we talked about earlier on in the video, so we are definitely going to watch that here during the morning and afternoon hours. But here we go into the evening, and storms beginning to fire up here, especially out here kind of into the southwestern part of Texas, but also you'll notice, you look at some of these supercells even developing down into Mexico. Mexico also part of the world that sees some of these supercells this time of year, and definitely going to see that today on the other side of the Rio Grande. So kind of interesting to me to see that, but again, those will kind of work on through and likely even cross from Mexico into portions of Texas. But either way, we're still going to have just big time storms with a tornado threat, a large hail threat, and some damaging wind threat out here over much of the heart of Texas this afternoon and into this evening. And that just kind of continues here into the overnight hours, dying down a little bit, but you'll notice going further to the north, here's that line of storms up near Kansas, slowly working southbound during the overnight hours. So more of a discrete kind of a clustering threat of storms over Texas today, where further north it's more of a squall line kind of threat. So again, kind of a bimodal severe weather threat today. And you'll notice here we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Threat dies down a little bit before going into the afternoon hours once more. Let's do it all again. More supercells firing up here from New Mexico all the way into western Texas. Again, tornado threat is a very real concern here tomorrow. Strong winds, large hail, just a lot of the kind of same general ideas here. And again, just very impressive to see here showing up on future radar, continuing into tomorrow evening. Again, turning into kind of a cluster of storms with a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain during the overnight hours. And by the time we're waking up on Sunday here, still leftover clusters of storms. And that could once again lead to another severe weather threat Sunday afternoon into southeastern Texas. So again, Texas is kind of, if I had to pick one state that's really under the gun for the next couple of days, Texas is the real winner. But that's going to change because as we get into this weekend and into early next week, a big-time storm system moves in from the west coast, and it's not very hard to find on your map here. This is Sunday morning of this week, and you'll notice, well, here we go. This big-time, almost bowling ball look to this trough here, again, diving down through the Pacific Northwest, eventually working eastbound here. And this is going to do a lot of things for a lot of people, and not necessarily probably what you want to see, but here we go into Monday afternoon. There's that bowling ball kind of trough, and here comes a reinforcing shot of some troughing behind it. And again, just kind of follow the isobars here, and that'll tell you the entire story we need to see here. We've got this obviously big area of low pressure, and this is a strong one, and it's pulling a lot of wind energy out of the south here. So this is going to do a couple things. One, it's going to increase instability. Really, that low-level jet's going to crank up that moist and unstable air transport out of the south. Going to really, invigorate itself here, I guess, on the southern side of this. But on the other end, we also have to worry about the winds coming out of the Pacific here. So this is also pulling a lot of Pacific air, which is also quite moist and unstable, I should add. And, that's going to eventually cross over the southerly flow, and we're going to get plenty of wind shear. And I guess actually I should probably recharacterize that. While this air is definitely unstable coming out of the Pacific, eventually it's going to hit the Rockies, hit this cold air, and then we're going to get a lot of cold air to kind of overlap this very warm air. And obviously, anytime you get cold air and warm air mixing, that's a very troublesome look for severe weather, especially whenever you're getting this much wind energy. A lot of times that cold air aloft, what that helps to do is bring our dew point further to the left on our skew-T diagrams here. And if I just take a kind of sounding here to just show you, you'll notice kind of like this, see this big area of cold air here. Well, what that does is it brings a lot of space here between our dew point and our parcel, which is this kind of dashed white line here. Basically, just what that does is it increases CAPE values. It increases severe weather potential. It just does a lot here to kind of help really increase the threat of strong storms. And that same area of low pressure, that same trough, is really going to hang around for a while. That was Monday. This is Tuesday. Here we go, Wednesday. It's still hanging around, and eventually you're thinking, all right, it's kind of dying down a little bit on Thursday, but don't get too excited because here comes another shot of troughing into next weekend, and now the East Coast has this big area over it. So again, I think everyone's going to get in on severe weather action next week from the plains all the way through the eastern seaboard. It's just going to take some time to get there. So again, just a very active week ahead for a lot of folks. And here we go, Storm Prediction Center already highlighting some of that for our day 4. This is Monday, already a 30% area of severe weather. That's as high as they can go this far out. And a lot of folks in the plains under the gun. But then here we go on our Tuesday, and more areas getting in that threat. And I'll mention, this is where the highest confidence is, but there are other areas that could see severe weather out of this. In fact, there's going to be a lot of instability into areas of the southeast next week. Could see isolated afternoon storms day after day. Going to be a real possibility. Wednesday, another area of severe weather. So again, this is just going to be a very active stretch for a lot of folks. And we take a look at it on kind of future radar here, just to give you a general idea. And actually, I'm not sure if this is the map. Okay, yeah, just making sure we are on the, actually I'm going to switch these two. Sorry. So again, showing this to you on a dew point map, this helps to really just show instability and where we have that thunderstorm fuel. Well, we'll start on Monday afternoon. Again, look at this big time moist air transport as these dew points are rising very far north, all the way up north of the Ohio River Valley. Dew points in the 60s as far north as potentially South Dakota is definitely going to allow for severe weather to overtake a lot of areas, and you'll notice those dew points hang around all the way through Tuesday. This is Wednesday. Going into Thursday, at this point, the Great Plains are kind of calming down a little bit, becoming a bit more stable, but now the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic and Ohio River Valley are under the gun. And that could continue before, I think, finally all this clears through. A nice shot of cooler air into next kind of the end of next weekend and into the following week are going to cool things back down, bring these dew points down, and once again it'll feel like spring a little bit more. But again, this is going to be a very potent storm system we have to get through, and you can see it showing up very well here on future radar. Saturday afternoon, here it comes. Look at all this rain and even high elevation snow back out west. Again, I know it's kind of getting into May here, but still plenty of high elevation snow continuing, a lot of rain, and eventually here we go. Monday afternoon, storms erupt across the Great Plains as this low pressure really strengthens. That continues once again into Tuesday afternoon, into Wednesday afternoon. And again, just round after round after round of storms continues rolling on through here. Through our Wednesday, Thursday getting into the mid-Atlantic, Ohio River Valley, southeast. Friday afternoon, storms really into the southeast, expanding. Saturday afternoon could even see some storms before I think finally after that, about 8, 9 days from now, maybe even 10 days, we finally clear out and get into a more quiet pattern, which again I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to. Alright, now this map I'm showing you, I know kind of is mumble jumble and spaghetti soup all over the place, but it's a very important map, and I think it's one that forecasters can really learn a lot from and use very frequently on setups like this. This shows our Cape map, or basically kind of our thunderstorm fuel map, overlapped with our wind map, and obviously those are the two big ingredients when forecasting severe weather. So just notice, or note, and again I know this is going to be hard to see, but anywhere you see these very bright colors showing up and kind of overlapping with any kind of graph here that is almost, I'll draw it kind of right here, shaped like that or shaped like this, or has any kind of hooking shape to it. Anytime you see those two ingredients overlap, that's a recipe for severe weather. And just to show you a little bit better, I'll take a sounding here in just a moment. But look at this, Monday afternoon, a lot of Cape. I mean, this is, 4,000 joules per kilogram. That's more than enough to cause problems. And if we take a sounding here, I'll take one over the Red River Valley here of portions of Oklahoma here. Again, this is just very impressive to see, and I'll move my head. Try to, actually, maybe if I do this, it'll be a little bit easier to see. Sorry, let's see. Yeah, we'll do this. But Cape values, just we'll start with our SKU-T box over here, which is, this chart on this side. Here's our parcel. Again, this dashed white line, that's kind of what the air parcel is going to do, while the red line and the green line there are our environmental dew point in green and temperature in red. And either way, what I want you to notice is this kind of box down here. Cape values are really just off the charts, more than enough to cause problems. And that is going to lead to some of these storms becoming very large, and just kind of very destructive, honestly. Now, this sounding is probably a little bit more conducive for some hail. Wind shear values are not off the charts here by any means, but out in the plains, it takes a lot less wind shear than maybe it does in the eastern United States to form tornadoes, just due to the fact that we have this much instability in the atmosphere. So even if you don't see a tornado next week, just know very strong storms nonetheless are going to be a problem. And that continues once again Tuesday afternoon, more areas of instability. And I mean, honestly, this is really just Cape values that are getting off the charts. Passing 5,000 joules per kilogram at the surface is just something that you really don't want to see, to be quite honest with you, if you're not a fan of severe weather. And again, we've got wind shear in this sounding as well, so just pretty unfortunate for a lot of folks who've already been through it over the past couple weeks. And again, I'll mention, by the time we get into Wednesday and into Thursday, us folks in the east, don't let your guard down. I mean, once again, these ingredients are now increasing east of the Mississippi. Nashville, I mean, 4,000 joules per kilogram of Cape in a place like Nashville is just not something you see super often. So we need to watch out for that. And again, I think this could be really, I think the word outbreak is probably at this point the best word to use, and probably even more significant than the one we saw last week in terms of how many people are going to get in on this. Again, this is not just going to be a Great Plains problem. It's going to be a Great Plains problem, an Ohio River Valley problem, maybe even a Mid-Atlantic and Southeastern problem. You'll notice by the time we're getting into next Friday afternoon, all the way down into Alabama, Georgia, plenty of Cape values, plenty of turning of the winds here, and just a lot of problems on the horizon. So the good news, though, is when this does finally clear out, going into probably next Sunday, and maybe even a little bit earlier than that, things are going to get much nicer. And by the time we get to next Monday afternoon and next Tuesday afternoon, I'll just very quickly show you our temperature map here. Let's see, we'll just do this map. Again, I'm just kind of pulling this up on the fly here, but the good news is, again, by the time we get into about next Monday or so, these are, generally speaking, afternoon temperatures. Here we go. Just much nicer, much more spring-like, much less summer-like. Like I showed you earlier, those dew point values are going to be much lower, and we're just at least going to finally get some relief, which is absolutely good news, as, again, we're going to have a lot of problems to get through before we get to that relief. So, again, just kind of stay weather aware this week. If you don't get your information from me, that's fine. Get it from somebody, though, because, again, a very active, kind of dangerous period over the next 7 days or so. Alrighty, well, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by liking it and commenting, and kind of anything else you feel like doing. If you want to share it, that would definitely be appreciated as well. And I just want to also say thank you for such a productive year, and really past 6 months or so on the channel. It's just been a super fun time. And again, I know I've kind of been in and out at times, but as you can imagine, being a college student and doing all the college things can be a hassle sometimes. and just take up a lot of my schedule. So again, I appreciate y'all being so understanding. As my schedule is always fluctuating, it's probably not quite as easy as somebody who has a 9-to-5 job and generally knows what's happening. I'm a part of a lot of extracurricular things and all that, and sometimes things pop up at the last second. Homework assignments pop up and all the other things. But again, getting into the summer, I do have some big things planned for the channel, and hoping to kind of build on the growth we've seen so far this year. And I think hurricane season is going to be very productive for the growth, and again, going to likely be a very active season. But I'll have a video out on that, maybe a couple videos in the next couple of weeks, kind of discussing that general potential. All right, y'all have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you all next time.